Well, happy Monday and welcome to the fifth week of Lent and the fifth week in our podcast series entitled Intentional. This is Father Mark, and I want to just remind us of why is it that we're in not only a podcast series, but a podcast series with the title that we have. It came from our desire to walk with you to help us all become more intentional about choosing to choose God. If we are going to be disciples of Jesus Christ, we have to be intentional about living in a certain way. Again, we said at the very beginning of the conversation that disciples learn from the master and they want to live like the master. And if we're going to live like a disciple of Jesus Christ, then we have to choose to do that. And this week, I want to invite us into a style of prayer, which is one of the more time-honored ways of praying in the church, called Lectio Divina. And the reason that is because disciples pray. And it's important for us to know how to pray. I know for a lot of us, the last time that we actually learned about prayer might have been when someone was teaching us how to say our prayers when we were much younger. And yet, as we get older, our hearts deal with more complex things. And the ways that we prayed when we were kids, when we were saying our prayers, it doesn't house, you might say, the depth of what our hearts really long for. So this week we're going to teach you Lectio Divina. It's a way that you can use a Bible passage in your prayer. It's 4 steps, and each day, Monday through Thursday, we're actually going to practice that step together. And so wherever you are as you're listening to this, whether you're running or driving or walking or whether you're actually stationary, we're going to pray together a little bit today. So Lectio Divina, it's 4 steps. The first step is you're going to read a passage from Scripture. The second part is you're going to meditate on what you read. The third part is you're going to talk to God and listen to Him. And the last step, you're going to rest in God's presence. So let's zero in on the first step today. The first part of Lectio Divina is called just the reading part, right? The Lectio part. And I'm going to use for us today the passage of Scripture that's given to us at daily Mass. And that's Psalm 23. And I want to teach you how to pray Lectio Divina one step at a time by actually using a real Scripture passage. Now, in Lectio Divina, you're going to, first of all, read a Scripture passage 3 times. And as you read the passage 3 times, you're going to pay attention to what word or phrase kind of tugs at your heart. The first step, you're just going to get familiar with the words, and then as you read it a second and third time, you want to pay attention to what word or phrase tugs at your heart. So with that being the case, what I want to do right now is I'm going to read Psalm 23, which is the responsorial psalm at Mass today. And as I read it, I want you to pay attention to what word or phrase tugs at your heart. So again, just pay attention to your heart as I read Psalm 23 a few times. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. In verdant pastures He gives me repose. Besides restful waters He leads me. He refreshes my soul. He guides me in right paths for His name's sake. Even though I walk in the dark valley, I fear no evil, for You are at my side, with Your rod and Your staff that give me courage. You spread the table before me in the sight of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Only goodness and kindness follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for years to come. Okay, now, what word or phrase tugged at your heart there? I'm going to read it 2 more times, right? So if you didn't hear anything that really kind of jumped out at you, just listen again. Just listen to your heart. This is what the first step of Lectio Divina is. You're just listening to your heart as you read a Scripture passage. So I'm going to read it for you again, and just listen to what word or phrase kind of jumps out at you. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. In verdant pastures He gives me repose. Besides restful waters He leads me. He refreshes my soul. He guides me in right paths for His name's sake. Even though I walk in the dark valley, I fear no evil, for You are at my side, with Your rod and Your staff that give me courage. You spread the table before me in the sight of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Only goodness and kindness follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for years to come. Now, you would read it a third time if you were doing Lectio Divina, and again, every time you're praying with it, you're just paying attention to the word or phrase that kind of tugs at your heart. And so I just ask you now, what was the word or phrase that most kind of jumped out at you as you were listening to me read it to you? And your homework today is just to kind of sit with that all day long. Just let that word or phrase just kind of marinate in your heart all day long. Tomorrow, come back. We're going to tell you what we would do with that in the second step of Lectio Divina, as this week the Lord teaches us how to pray so that we can become intentional about our prayer. Looking forward to being with you tomorrow. Enjoy the scripture passage that was on your heart. And until we visit again tomorrow morning, God bless you.